Hello and welcome to Dice Masters United. I'm Spug.
I'm Ben.
I'm James.
And I'm Peter.
Coming up in this episode,
we're looking ahead to the upcoming Dark Phoenix set and predicting how we think it will change the modern meta. Which cards will fly and which will flop.
We'll start by unveiling 2 new spoilers, at least one of which we think will see a lot of play.
And we'll revisit last episode's discussion about cards with the shield energy type and reveal the winner of the poll to decide the shieldiest shield of all.
All that and more in the latest episode of Dice Masters United.
So the Dark Phoenix expansion might still be a little way off, and latest estimates seem to put its release in about November. Please, can it not be any later than that? We're just really keen to see it out on the streets. But the fact that the set has been in the pipeline for so long means we have a decent number of spoilers to pore over and consider how they might shake up the modern meta when they do get released. So we thought we'd indulge in a bit of speculation over how we think the set will change things when it does finally come out later in the year. And we're going to start, though, with some exciting new spoilers. Again, thank you very much to Jimmy O'Brien at WizKids for entrusting us with some more spoilers. We're very pleased to be able to reveal them. And we've got 2, one of which is going to be particularly interesting, I think, to players. Shall we start with Ronan the Accuser? Who wants to read out the Ronan spoiler that we have?
I'll do for it.
I was first. I get this one.
I'm not. I don't get that one.
So we have Ronan the Accuser. No Mercy is a 6-cost bolt with no affiliation. It's the uncommon. He has, when fielded, each player KOs a character they control. So yeah, it's not super exciting, but it's pretty cool ability.
And his stats, he's a 155, 167, 288. So he's a big beefy dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets an affordable-ish version. Although I think the other one that was spoiled was cheaper.
Yeah.
I like the 8/8. I like the 8/8. That's as far as I'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important, I suppose, to pay attention to Ronin spoilers as we have the Supreme Intelligence, which kind of triggers off it at the 12 costs, which gets loyalty counters if you attack or buy a Ronin.
Yes.
So any Ronin that's kind of half decent, I guess, sees some play just as part of, because someone's going to try that 12 cost Supreme Intelligence.
Let me just buy a 6 cost as a way of getting to my 12 cost.
You get a 1 cost discount on a 12 cost, yeah.
Right off the bat, get the 1 discount, and then you attack with it.
This is better than the 5 cost. So the 5 cost is when Ronan the Accuser is fielded, lose 1 life. When Ronan the Accuser is KO'd, your opponent loses 1 life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't mind the stats. Ronan has never been great. But carrying stuff on your turn is okay. Carrying your opponent's stuff is okay. It's just, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody is not familiar with the Supreme Intelligence, they hadn't seen that one. He's a 12 cost mask. He's the rare as well. So not only is he very expensive to buy, he's also slightly harder to get hold of. But he says Supreme Intelligence costs 1 less to purchase for each loyalty counter on it. Now, loyalty counter generally means +1A and +1D, doesn't it, we believe?
Yes.
When
so
you
it's
purchase...
like experience.
Yeah,
right?
basically, yeah.
Outside
When you purchase...
of D&D.
Then Supreme Intelligence says when you purchase Ronan the Accuser or attack with a Ronan the Accuser character die, put a loyalty counter on Supreme Intelligence's card. So, yeah. He comes with fairly beefy stats, but obviously they will get beefier as he becomes cheaper. So if you can get 2 or 3 of those 6-cost Ronins in rotation, you could be, having a whale of a time.
I mean, I think this is something you do want to buy multiples of. So
if you can, yeah.
It does sync up. You just can't buy multiples of a 6-cost character ever. So pretty fun in some kind of constructed, maybe a Giants type event. I don't know. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Some kind of Kree themed event, maybe.
Yeah, but he's not even affiliated, so...
He hasn't got the Kree affiliation, though, yeah. Which is,
some kind of event where you have to play a Ronan the Accuser. This is probably the one I'm playing, so...
Yeah.
It's the best Ronan accuser yet.
Yeah.
You might well be right. Well, yeah, there's Ronan. He probably won't see much playing constructive, if any, but that's still nice to see what he's going to be like. But should we move on to the next one? James, do you want to fight it out with Ben as to who reads this side?
Well, I will just say that Ronan does work well with this card, and James can read it out.
Oh, well done.
The other one is Psylocke Telepath. She's a 2-cost mask with the X-Men affiliation, and she has the text, when fielded, target character die gets Overcrush. And we have seen her before. We've seen, I think, her common and her rare, so she's got the normal Psylocke die, which is quite right. It's a 0/1/2, 0/2/2, and a 1/3/3. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, what do we think? How big is this card going to be, Ben, do you think?
Yeah, interesting in that we've seen it kind of before with the Mary Jane from Amazing Spider-Man, which was a really, really good card.
Yeah.
I think this one has less limitations, so it is better overall.
Mary Jane says, I've got it, she's an ally, and when fielded, target non-villain character die. Target non-villain character, it says. You control gains Overcrush this turn. If you targeted Spider-Man, he also gets +1 attack, and her stats go all the way up to 2 attack.
And she's a 2-cost mask as well, right?
She is a 2-cost mask, that's right.
Yeah.
Although Psylocke
like...
is a max 2 only. So that's a bit of a limitation there.
Oh, I've never bought more than 2 MJs, though, so
I have.
Right.
It doesn't really have any similarities to this card, but I do think about it in terms of the other Psylocke, which was kind of popular, which was the rare from UXM.
Yeah.
Which basically, when you fielded Psylocke, you could pay 2 masks to basically KO an opposing character.
Yeah, the removal one, yeah.
Which was a nice bit of removal at the time. And saw a little bit of play initially, and then kind of everyone realised that paying 2 masks was a bit expensive. I worry for this card that it might end up being that way. Just that there are probably better ways, inbuilt ways to have Overcrush.
Yeah.
Why would you want this? In saying that, though, with a certain 10/10 token that we have roaming around, the Psylocke might be a automatic nice fit, especially with a Mask Global and kind of the Clayface shenanigans you can do in Godcatcher teams in particular.
Yeah, nice cheap mask to boot.
Yeah.
It will also work really well on an Asuka team, actually, if you go aggressively. Because Asuka would get a buff.
Pumping Asuka,
she'd get a buff and Overcrush.
I hadn't thought about that. That's actually interesting.
Yeah,
but she's only a max 2, which is a shame for Asuka teams.
I suppose, what 2-cost masks do we have at the moment, I suppose, and does this kind of fit in? Danny's the obvious one.
Madeline Pryor is another one.
But there aren't an amazing amount of 2-cost masks.
Black Widow as well.
Yeah, this is definitely going to see play, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. Of course, you can, if you want more dice, it's going to be more expensive, but you can, she's got the X-Men affiliation, so you can always copy her with Hope Summers, can't you? The one that copies
yeah, and
I suppose.
Just kind of her by herself, right? Like, just a 3/3 is not bad. Field it, give herself Overcrush.
Yeah.
It's kind of an early kind of chip damage.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing with some buffs.
Yeah, it's going to be... she's definitely going to see a lot of play. And it's nice that she's an uncommon. She's not going to be that hard to get hold of. She's not...
in draft, she's going to be, really good.
Crazy. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
It might be worth mentioning at this point, I don't want to jump ahead, but there is another card in the set which has a global, which also grants Overcrush, which is Mr. Sinister. Super rare. And his global says pay 3 target character die gains Overcrush. So that's another option, but it's pricey and you're giving it to your opponent as well. So I still think, Psylocke still has a place. For sure.
I think we've had this kind of discussion before, where is it better to have stuff at global speed or at character kind of speed in giving people stuff? And global speed tends to win.
Mm-hmm. But it depends on the other utility. If you're using Clayface and you want the masks, and maybe you're using Blue Eyes Global, which we'll mention in a minute, then you know Psylocke might win out, given that global costs 3.
Yeah,
it's not a clear cut choice, I think, necessarily.
No, I mean like I'm trying to think of a good example. I suppose the Blackbird versus like a Wrecker or something.
The Blackbird that cancels at a global.
Cancels global, and Wrecker that cancels global. But it has that kind of slightly that the card is so much more expensive, whereas in this way round, the card is much less expensive than the global.
In fact, it costs less. And even with the Blackbird, your opponent could use there was that little mini game of taking control of the Blackbird global, which came from it being a global that was available to both players, whereas this is your Overcrush. So
yeah, and again, the other example I can kind of think of off the top of my head is kind of the prep kind of stuff, where like what do you play at Resurrection or like when fielded prep or die, the globals always kind of won out. But again, the global's much cheaper than the character in that instance, whereas in this instance it's kind of reversed. So it'll be interesting to see if they've kind of got that balance right of character versus global.
Yeah, definitely. So we are intrigued, definitely, to start mucking around with that Psylocke for sure. And don't forget, and we'll talk about this a little bit more at the end of the show, but in the last episode we mentioned that Dicify XL is coming to a webcam near you on the 14th of August. We'll talk a bit about it more later, but that is going to give you the opportunity to play with some of the Dark Phoenix cards by using proxies, almost certainly, I should imagine. So with that in mind, we thought it'd be good to have a bit of a chat about what the kind of themes and ideas are going to be big in this set. The globals that are going to change the game, and we thought we'd start. You mentioned the new Blue Eyes White Dragon kind of global, James. How is that coming back in this set? Because we're getting quite a few ramp options, aren't we? This time out, which is exciting, I think.
Indeed. It's on the eponymous, he says, scrolling, Dark Phoenix. It's on all of the rarities that we've seen so far. Yeah. And if you don't know what the Blue Eyes White Dragon Global is, it's pay a bolt and KO one of your character dice. The next die you purchase this turn costs 2 less, to a minimum of 1. Nice.
Yeah. So, Peter, why is that so good?
Well, you get discounts. And you also get a KO, self-KO that you can use on when fielded stuff, and you can do it both on your own turn as well as on your opponent's turn. So there's many uses.
Yeah, definitely.
Such as stuff you might want to refield.
It always makes me...
Or get out of the way so they don't force it to block or stuff like that.
Quite.
True, yeah.
There's a board gaming podcast called the Secret Cabal gaming podcast, and they often talk about the sense of discovery in games and the importance of that. And the Dark Phoenix or the Blue Eyes White Dragon Global always made me think about that, because when it first came out, everyone was like, "Oh wow, you can discount your dice. That's really good." And then everyone was kind of playing around with that for a while. And then suddenly someone figured out, actually, all these when KO'd effects we have, this is the way to trigger them whenever we want.
Yeah.
Even during like our opponent's turn, during when they pass priority. And then I think the Solomon Grundy, which is a 5 cost, which is pretty not great if you look back at it now. Yes. But it KO'd a die when it got KO'd.
Yeah.
Suddenly was such a great card because someone worked this out. And the when KO'd part of the Blue Eyes White Dragon Global was so good that it kind of became its own thing.
Yeah.
And we kind of had this splintering with the Malekith Global, right? Or like the Rock Global, where they kind of did the same thing as Blue Eyes, but restricted it in one way. Either it was really good at carrying something, or was discounting something, right? Like Kree Captain discounts, but doesn't have the KO. So to get them both back as one thing again is pretty fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously it's really cool. Even if you miss that character, you got a bit of ramp, or if you just want to KO a sidekick or something, just to give you a little bit of additional ramp, it can be quite nice early on, can't it? If you're trying to reach for something, buying it early, if you can buy a 5 cost for basically a 3.
I mean, the classic was Gobby, right, which is a 3 cost bolt where you just KO'd it to refield the next turn, which was unfielded, deal damage equal to the number of psychics you have.
Yeah.
And you could kind of do something similar with the Psylocke we just kind of spoiled.
Yeah. Just
constant repetition of, they don't block they don't really trigger the overcrush how you want it, then you just KO the Psylocke, get it back the next turn.
Try again, yeah. Yeah, because she, with her stats, I mean, she's 012, 022, 133, so she isn't something, obviously on that 3/3 side, she's not something you can easily knock out by combat damage necessarily. She's not going to, she's going to bump off a sidekick or something, isn't she, rather than get KO'd. So a way of knocking her out is going to be good. And I think it's great. This set's looking like it's giving us some ramp options generally. We've got other stuff that's coming back or actually, if it's mostly old stuff that's coming back, isn't it? That we're getting again. James, what are you liking the look of in terms of ramp that we're getting back?
Well, it's always nice to keep sort of prep globals in the modern meta. I don't think we're in immediate danger of losing the ones that we've got, but at some point, obviously, Atlas might disappear because he's the first campaign book?
Yeah, the most current, the oldest current thing in rotation, right?
And his global, which is Pay a Fist and Prep a Die, is coming back on 2 of the rarities of Wolverine. I think the rare and the super rare.
That's right. Yeah.
And there's also Villainous Pact on a similar theme on, I think, all of the Magnetos. Now we have just had Villainous Pact, so it's not in any danger of disappearing. But you can't have too many Villainous Pacts.
Really. It's nice to have it on a character.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. What difference does that make? Do you think, Peter?
Well, you might want to use your basic action slots for other basic actions than Villainous Pact, and then you still have the option of still having the Villainous Pact global. Yeah. So that's nice. It's always nice to have that option to have it either on a basic action or on a character. It gives you more flexibility in team building.
I mean, simply put, you have 8 characters, right? You only have 2 basic action slots. Yeah. So to have the flexibility of if you have these 2 basic actions you really want, and you also want a prep global, which almost everyone does all the time. But then, I mean, I am worried that they're not on... So then you have the kind of flip of that, right? Because you kind of want them on basic action cards as well.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to have Resurrection back, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't suppose it'll be far away.
There's still space for it. There's 3 unrevealed basic actions. So
it makes sense in a Dark Phoenix set.
Yeah,
Phoenix is the whole theme.
Transfer power, maybe, please.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But not with that name because there's no space alphabetically we established. But there are 3 spaces, so you never know.
I guess.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, if you're wondering where all these cards can be found, we probably already should have mentioned by now that you can go to our website where we have a comprehensive spoiler gallery of all of the things that we're talking about. We're not making this up. They do actually sort of exist. So you can find all of the cards that we're talking about and many more on our spoiler gallery, which I'll put in the show notes, but it's DM United, and you'll find it from there. Sorry, carry on.
No, that's
I was just going to say the other kind of similar card that's reprinted, sort of ramp at global speed, which is kind of what we've been talking about, is another Mr. Sinister, the Mr. Sinister Rare, which is a reprint sort of Atlantis/Star Labs. Which has global pay 2 generic energy, field a psychic from your use pile, and prep a psychic from your use pile.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Yeah.
Wonderful, yeah. Super good. It's the first time in a while we've kind of had an upgrade of a reprint, right? A lot of the time they kind of take away something from the reprints, make them worse. And this one making it not the 2 energy specific.
Because what was it? This was a schist, wasn't it? I think before, as we coined it, that you had to pay a shield and a fist. I think was is the currency for it on Atlantis. What was it on Starlabs? Was it a bolt and a
bolt? Yeah, shield
and a shield.
Sholt.
A sholt. Yeah, thank you, James. But now it's just going too generic, which is great. Just do it as much as you want, and obviously this keeps the old. It doesn't kind of do away with the fact that you can do it on your opponent's turn as well, which is nice.
I do think that. Sorry, James, go on.
No, I was just going to say it's a nice global because it not only does it get you ramp, but it also thins your bag because you get to feel the psychic. But it doesn't reset the bag like the other prep globals that we talked about.
Yeah, I was going to say kind of something similar, that it is it's as close to PXG as we kind of currently have, in that it does the ramp and also the thinning of your bag, which is the most important part about PXG. In that you clear out all your psychics, so you only have the characters in your use pile. So you're only drawing your characters rather than all the psychic dice, which kind of clog up your bag.
Yeah. At least it gives you the opportunity to get some blockers in place as well, doesn't it?
That might not be a good thing.
No.
Yeah, Jerry Lawler.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
We should talk about our old friend Beast, shouldn't we? Because he's bringing some good ramp, isn't he, Ben? When he when he comes, that looks like it's going to be fun.
Talk about like a card that might make me proxy something, maybe. Probably not. But proxying something for Dice Fight XL. The Psylocke is very tempting, I must say, and the Beasts in general. Probably in this instance, talking about the Rare Beast, which is Combat Ready, which is a 2-cost fist, X-Men affiliated. He has the Founder keyword, which I think we'll get into a bit later. Yeah. When Beast attacks, prep a die from your bag. The first Beast die you purchase this turn, or each game, costs 1 extra. So the first one you buy is 3. Everyone after that is 2. And you kind of want to load up on a bunch of these, just so you can attack with them and prep a bunch of dice.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really cool. And he's a 0-2-1, 1-2-2, 1-3-2. So he can, he's 3 is decent, isn't it? 3 is decent attack for a 2-cost.
If they want to let 3 through, that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, and you still, it's like, I think there was, is it a Kree soldier, which has a similar ability, but you only get to prep dice if they block, or if I can't remember which way around.
I think if it
deals combat
damage.
Yeah, if it deals combat damage.
I think there might be a Sky Claw which does the opposite, and I can't remember which way around those two are. But this one, no matter what, if it attacks, it preps a die, which is really fantastic.
Yeah, it is good. Yeah,
reminds me a lot, I think, of the old Rare Ricochet, which prepped dice every time you infiltrated, and it had infiltrate itself. So you kind of just get a bunch of infiltrators out, and then kind of spam your opponent's field, and attack with a bunch of weenies, prep a bunch of dice, and keep cycling them. So even if they let them through, they were coming back anyway because you were prepping so much. So I really like that. And then I suppose we can move on to the uncommon.
Yeah, go on.
Which is first class, which is just a 3-cost all the way through. Also has the Founder, also the X-Men. But while Beast is active, when a character die with Founder attacks, prep a die from your bag. I think this is kind of similar to the Captain Marvel we had such great hopes for. The rare Captain Marvel.
The 6-cost, yeah.
The 6-cost, which we were all quite excited about. But I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think we were all excited about the idea of having a big field of stuff and attacking with it and prepping like 7 dice or something, right?
Yeah. Certainly,
as unfeasible as that sounds, it would be very nice to have like a wall of Founder characters, attack with them all, prep a bunch of stuff, roll a bunch of stuff all the time, keep attacking, keep going, just churn your bag through all the time.
The dreams of big fields.
Yeah. And then Pip the Troll comes along.
Exactly. Yeah. That's. Both of these are going to be cool. I mean, obviously in draft for sure, aren't they? Because you can just load up on a bunch of these if you can get them, and then just kind of fling them at your opponent. And presumably, the Beast that you just read out, Ben, he counts himself when in his text because he himself has Founder. So if you just have 4 Beasts and you just attack with them, then they'll still trigger that ability to prep a die, won't they? Which is cool.
It might be worth explaining that Founder is a keyword which does nothing in and of itself, but which other cards reference, I think. So Beast's own text actually references is the fact that he has Founder, but there are other Founder cards like Angel and Cyclops and stuff. So if you had those in the field and they attacked in the case of Beast, then you would prep a die for each.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am kind of hoping for a Founder which has the if a Founder is fielded, prep a die as well.
Ooh, good times.
That'd be very nice. So you have it when you field and when you attack.
Yeah, that could be cool.
Yeah.
That might be the Founder keyword releasing. I think there's a few things which are kind of okay, and we kind of are a little bit speculating that it might be a thing, but isn't quite as concrete, I think, as we want it to be quite yet. But the ramp's good for it, so.
Yeah. And obviously we talked about the bishop that we spoiled in the last episode, and that obviously does provide a bit of ramp in the sense that if you use him solely to pay for a character, then you can prep that die. So that is another kind of little ramp option that we talked a bit about. We talked more about 2 weeks ago, or if you want to catch up with that, you can listen to last week's podcast or watch the video.
Indeed.
James and Ben.
Check it out. It's on the YouTube, and I'll obviously put the link in the show notes.
Excellent. Thank you, James. So obviously there's a bunch of kind of ramp options that are coming that are going to be fun, and there is definitely some should we talk some win cons in terms of how these seem to be shaping up. There definitely seems to be a direct damage kind of thing happening. Who wants to crack open one of those first?
Before we get into that, can I just say it is important that we did ramp before we did win cons, because ramp is way more important than win cons.
Yeah.
But there you go. But one of them, I suppose, does combine them. I'm talking about that. And it's probably not as strong as some of the other ones we're going to get onto, but the rare Dark Phoenix is kind of an interesting kind of, I guess, is it Jocasta-y type effect? It's the Firestorm, actually, which I kind of like. Basically, when an opposing character die deals damage to Dark Phoenix, she deals that much damage to each opponent. So, yeah, she takes damage from a bigger Godcatcher, I suppose. That'd be the ideal situation, I guess. Yeah. She deals the same damage back to your opponent. It is interesting they have the each opponent, as if the 2 versus 2 mode is still relevant. Yeah. But with that global,
been a thing for a while,
I suppose... Yeah, it is. It does. They do use that. But with the global on it, I suppose this might be probably the one that people are going to run on their team.
That's pretty cool, that one. She does cost 7, but then there's always hope. There's always hope.
But not for her, though. There's not hope for her, though, is it?
No, she's villain.
Oh, she's a villain. Oh,
yeah.
No.
She's the Dark Phoenix, isn't she? Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay.
But with her global, I mean...
Then there is no hope.
Right. But with the global, you
lost.
can get to her. It's not that difficult to get to with 7 cost.
No, and actually, because obviously her global is not limited to once per turn or anything like that. So you can KO, 2 or 3 characters to get a bigger reduction if you can afford the bolt.
You can destroy your entire field. You might want to. There might be reasons for that.
I mean, she's not a bad one to do with the Psylocke, right? If you can churn the Psylocke through and then give her Overcrush, she does have a 5/5/7/7/8/8 stat line, as well as if they block her, as well as the Overcrush, the blocking character then deals damage to their opponent as well.
Yep.
That's a little bit like that thing that you were talking about, your favourite Loki, Ben.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, can you use the Loki to give... your opponent something?
not that one.
No, not that. Although that would be
Give your opponent your Godcatcher and then force them to block and attack with your Phoenix.
No, the one where you're kind of doing trickery to make them deal their attack to their owners rather than you, right? And if you block with multiple things, if multiple things block her, then I guess all of them do their damage, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
Force block global.
I mean, so if you can get this out and they have 2 Godcatchers, then...
It's game over.
Nice. Oh, that is fun. Okay.
Note to self.
Okay, so Dark Phoenix may be better than we've realised even 5 minutes ago, now that we've chatted about it a bit. What else is coming up? I mean, Peter, what do you want to pick out kind of direct damage WinCon-wise?
Yeah, we're getting sort of reprints of two classic the direct damage WinCons, one of which is the Jubilee Super Rare, which has the ability that we've previously seen on Human Torch. So when you field the character, you deal 1 damage to an opponent and 1 damage to a character.
Yeah.
So that can get out of hand fairly quickly.
She is, yeah. She's a 4-cost bolt, but she's a max 5, interestingly.
Yeah, I think that's a throwback to the old Human Torch, which also was a max 5.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh,
They've used the same template. Yeah.
I mean, it still makes me sick.
Maybe they just copy-pasted it.
Shall I mention the other one, maybe?
Go on.
The other one was a reprint of, not Cyclops, but Colossus Rare.
Yes.
Sort of reprint of himself, except that I think he was called Pyotr Rasputin previously, and he's now just Pyotr.
Yeah.
Yes, and he is 1 cheaper.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes.
and he costs less. There you go. He's a 6-cost fist with the X-Men affiliation. And if you're not familiar with it, it says while Colossus is active at the end of your turn, each of your level 2 or 3 character dice deals your opponent 2 damage. Yes. There's your control win con.
I mean, this card is just hilarious. If you ever played with this card, you'll know. There's something so satisfying just being like, at the end of my turn, I'll deal you like 10 damage.
Yeah, and the terrifying thing is, and we've mentioned the Hope Summers that copies X-Men, but I mean, she can copy him. So you can get it in a 3-cost, which just makes it absolutely terrifying.
And you can get 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you can buy him as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and they'll be different.
I mean, I will point out that that Hope Colossus team did win me the Global Escalation Tournament at Worlds a couple of years ago. So
with the old 7-cost.
The old 7-cost, and it was like golden as well, right?
Yeah.
So now it's in modern. I mean, it's pretty. My favorite thing about it is, it's my favorite because I've done it a lot to people. If I'd have it happen to me, it'd probably be my least favorite thing. My favorite thing is when it's your opponent's turn and they're like doing their stuff and they suddenly realize there's no way for them to get rid of your Colossus or your Hope. And then they're like,
oh, I'm going to be dead.
I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose on your turn. And there's literally nothing I can do about it. And then they pass to me and I'm like, well, I'll just draw my 4 dice and I'll roll them. And should I re-roll anything? Maybe I should re-roll some. I'll re-roll some of them. Oh, look, I get to field an extra character. Now I do 2 more damage to you than I need to win the game. What a great
you repeatedly complain about not enjoying watching other people rolling dice for you.
I don't like them.
You're quite happy to sit there, going through the motions of your own turn and just waiting for them to die.
Look, I don't mind watching my opponent play the game. I don't like it when they just continuously. I have full respect for someone who just rolls their 4 dice, ends their turn gracefully, and wins the game.
This is truly horrible. Is this the pinnacle of? Because you can combine it with some horrible control. I imagine this is not really my kind of team. So, what did you put on your Worlds team? What sort of other stuff?
Ronin. Another Ronin.
I think Serena on there, didn't you?
Yeah. I had Serena on there just to freak people out, and then I wouldn't even really run that. I'd just buy like 3 Ronin and a Hope. Just sit there, just let them attack.
Oh my god.
That's funny. Yeah, what a gross team. And now it's Modern Eagle, so there you go.
My word. So, just in case anybody was wondering, that's not Ronan the Accuser, but Ronin. The Hawkeye one that absorbs damage.
Ronin the Ninja.
Yes. Yes, that one.
I will. I mean, I think it does say something that the Human Torch reprint in the Jubilee is really not getting. I completely forgot that it had been announced in this set. There are so many other gross things.
Yeah.
that Human Torch kind of is like, yeah, it's going to be annoying, but not as terrible as, Super Rare Thor or Rare Colossus back.
Yeah.
Blimey.
I mean, it definitely feels like the Black Widow agent that reduces damage by 1 from direct damage, and indeed the uncommon Mystique in this set, which reduces damage from opposing character abilities by 1, are going to be sticking around.
Yeah, I guess the important thing to remind us of with the Colossus is that it's not the Colossus dealing the damage; it's each of the level 2 or 3 characters which are dealing the damage.
Yeah.
So it makes a difference because if it was just Colossus dealing damage, and say there were 5 level 2 or 3 characters, that would be 10 damage, and Black Widow would just reduce it by 1. Whereas with the way Colossus is written, each of those characters deals damage, so Black Widow reduces the damage from each of them. So it'd be 5 instead of 10, which is huge, obviously.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Top tips for Dice Fight XL. I have a feeling that Black Widow might see some play, and therefore Black Widow definitely should.
Yeah.
Which is annoying because I feel like Venerable Dreadnought was just about to
come back. Yeah.
Right. Shame.
He maybe will have his day in the sun at some point. But no, so that Colossus Hope team is probably going to be horrific. Interestingly, one thing that Colossus doesn't have is the founder keyword. Now, people who know more about X-Men than me will know whether Colossus was the founder or not. Was he not?
No,
I don't think he was. No,
he wasn't the original. The original 6 or 5.
Wasn't it 4? Oh, we're gonna get drubbed by X-Men fans.
Wasn't it the fact that
Jean Grey, Cyclops, Beast, and
Angel?
Or was Iceman in there? Maybe. Oh,
Iceman.
Tell you what,
it was Archangel, Beast, Cyclops, Iceman.
No,
Jean Grey.
it was Angel.
It was 5.
Archangel was made from Angel by that bloke.
Just telling you,
Apocalypse.
Elon Musk.
Apocalypse. That's the one. Yeah. He was created as one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. That was really cool. I actually did read that. Do you know what Shadow Mel was saying? And he pointed out that was it X-Men First Class? That I think there are 5. Are there 5? The sort of grey coloured dice. All of the founder X-Men all have a sort of grey, some form of grey cast to their dice, so that if you think back, the Cyclops is grey with sort of red lenses on it, and the Iceman is also grey, which I thought was a bit weird. I was wondering why he had a grey dice, and he pointed it out. And
he does, like a gunmetal grey kind of. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Nice little nod, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
Well, while we're on the subject of the founder keyword, which obviously we have touched on, is that going to be any good, do we think? Do we think that the founder keyword is going to fly? I mean, Ben, you've talked about it a little bit before in this set. Maybe we are... I mean, obviously there's still quite a few cards to be revealed, so we don't know what else might be coming. But are there some good kind of founder ideas here that we feel might fly in decent teams?
I mean, I think it's worth mentioning. It probably will end up being terrible, just like... There are other ways of trying to do that. I mean, it reminds you of Heroic, right, and Team Watch, which actually Team Watch might be making a comeback. But I think there's a few things. The Cyclops, I think, is the most interesting in terms of an overall win condition. So Cyclops First Class, which is a common, has found a keyword in X-Men. But while Cyclops is active, when you field a character die with founder, deal 2 damage to target character die. So if you do have this, it kind of runs into this Beast Rush team, sort of. If you can get that Cyclops active, continuously attack with beasts, so they have to block. Prep a bunch of dice, field the beasts again, ping off blockers that you don't want to block, or kind of control pieces your opponent has with the Cyclops ping damage, then it could be a threat. And then there's the Angel, I suppose, is the other one. Which gives all your founders +1 attack, which is the uncommon.
Yeah, and the nice thing about those is, again, I mean, maybe looking towards draft, possibly, but I mean, the Cyclops you mentioned is a common. The Beast that's got that founder prep thing is an uncommon, and obviously the Angel is an uncommon as well. So they're not like stuff that would be really hard to get hold of, you might be able to make it work in a draft, potentially. Should be cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think you definitely will. I think it will see some play in that format, and it's always interesting to see how good draft pieces make their way into meta play. I always think of the morph from X-Men First Class, which kind of triggered off basic actions.
Basic actions,
it sort of saw meta play, but in draft it was like a killer, right?
Yeah,
definitely. James, is Founder going to fly, do you think?
No.
Okay, Peter, what do you think?
Founder is going to flounder.
He's going to flounder. Very nice. Oh, well, we can't top that. What about loyalty counters? I mean, we talked a little bit about loyalty counters. Now, are we sure that it's going to be plus
also
1?
No.
I don't know. Peter,
yes,
what do you
it's
think?
in the reminder text that it's +1, +1, I think.
It is,
that's what you're asking. Yep.
Thank you. Peter, loyalty counters, have you got anything that rhymes with that?
No.
No?
I don't know. I'm not convinced yet about the loyalty counters. It's the same as with the experience counters. I never managed to make it work. Even with the later ways of adding experience counters, without having to kill stuff
it's
specifically.
Well convoluted.
Yeah, but although it is easier to get the loyalty counters than the experience counters. So
I think
who knows?
The problem is that giving +1 attack, which is adding defense is okay, but mainly it's the attack you want to add because that's what wins you the game. Yeah. And then there's just so many cards, especially in Infinity Gauntlet. There were so many cards with buff globals.
Yeah, right.
True.
That's true.
Adding tokens, okay, sure, but just buff the character you want to swing through early.
I think it'd be fun for. It could be fun in a sort of a theme night team, a sort of greeny, maybe loosely orange kind of event. But
I do really like the Madeline Pryor that gives loyalty counters if you KO Brotherhood.
Yeah, and she works well with the Moira, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Who gets a loyalty counter every time you field another X-Men character. So you can just get a few of those and.
Well, I suppose with the radicalization global, where you can make things into X-Men or Brotherhood.
Oh yeah.
There is some kind of play with that, whereas you can field them as X-Men and then make them into Brotherhood, carry them, and then you can give tokens. It's interesting. I mean, it probably won't see play, but it is nice when you see kind of these combos in set. And I think we've already mentioned several teams, which kind of there's the Founder team, there's the Loyalty Tokens team, and probably the major one. I don't know if you want to come to it now, but the Brotherhood team.
I want to mention Living the Dream first. I want to mention Living the Dream. Okay. Before we get to that, because I want to throw this one out here. Okay, Living the Dream is a basic action card, 4 cost, that says continuous. If among all character cards on your team you have at least 3 loyalty counters, your character dice get +1A and overcrush brackets until end of turn, close brackets, full stop. How on earth is that going to work? A continuous die that works until the end of turn. What? How? No, I don't get it. Help.
I mean, we have seen continuous die that only lasts until, I think there's a Green Devil Mask, which only lasts until the end of turn, right? Which is continuous.
Is that right?
Yeah, and there's Target Lock, which disappears at some point.
So there is precedent for it. The thing with the difference is, I suppose, is that this card doesn't seem to warrant the bracketed text.
No.
Or doesn't warrant the continuous text. Yeah.
Yeah, either it's just a one shot. You get it on the turn that you roll it. Or could it be that it's continuous until you want to use it? But that's not got precedent, has it? I don't think.
Or it's continuous, but you can only trigger it once when you field it, and then it sits there doing nothing.
Yeah, that would be calamitous.
I mean, that would be living the dream. It just sits there doing nothing. Truly living the dream.
Oh, let's move on from loyalty counters.
Well, we anybody who's got an answer to that question, please write in and tell us. The rules people out there, you know who you are. If they can help us comprehend how living the dream is going to work, then I would be very grateful. Ben, what were you going to say about Brotherhood before I took us into
Brotherhood is super good, yo. That's what I'm going to say. Just leave it at that.
It's all good in the hood.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah, it is definitely good in the hood. I mean, I will say that there's been a Brotherhood team out there for a long time, which has kind of toiled under not having a win condition, but was super controlling. I'm talking about in Golden, obviously.
Yeah.
But with this kind of Scarlet Witch, Blob, which are all really heavy control pieces.
Yeah.
And there was like a Magneto, which gave everything Infiltrate, which is sort of okay. And just, but this set is set to see that Brotherhood Golden team skyrocket for sure. But I think even in just set by itself, it can be pretty gross, mainly off of 2 cards, which is the Super Rare Mystique. She Walks Among Us, which has the Brotherhood and Villain. It's a 3-cost, and it has the Team Watch ability, which is spin target opposing character to an energy face of your opponent's choice. So when you field a character with the Brotherhood or the Villain affiliation and Mystique is active, your opponent basically has to spin one of their characters down to an energy. And then in tandem with that, so the Mystique clears the field, and then in tandem with that is another Team Watch ability on the rare Sabretooth. You ready to party? When Sabretooth attacks, your Brotherhood character dice get +2 attack, which is pretty gross and is like a mini bard for just Brotherhood characters, but also has a Team Watch ability. Target character die can't block this turn. So if you have a Brotherhood and a Mystique person active, and you feel Sabretooth, and a Mystique person active, and you field the Brotherhood character, first off, your opponent's going to have to spin down one of their characters. You're going to be able to choose a character that can't block, and then you can give all of those characters +2 attack, when Sabretooth attacks.
Yeah.
And before you field them, you might want to use the Radicalization Global to give all your sidekicks the Brotherhood affiliation, no?
Yikes.
Pay a shield, target character die gains X-Men or Brotherhood affiliation until end of turn. So they would get the buff from Sabretooth as well.
Well, Sabretooth is a when attacks buff as well. So you don't even have to, before you field anything, you can just wait and see what you're ready to attack with, and then just make them Brotherhood.
That's cool. I think, so it might be even a little bit more than inset. Inset always seems to be like the most sort of faint praise. Well, it's good in set, it's good in draft, but this is genuinely just good.
This is good. Yeah. I mean, that Mystique is going to be gross by itself. I think the thing which will make it sink or swim is how good other cheap Brotherhood characters are.
Or villains.
You mentioned the Madeline Pryor, or even actually villains, 2-cost villains could just be a thing with the Mystique. But I think the Sabretooth gives it a win condition, right?
While we're on the subject of those Brotherhood characters, we mustn't forget the biggest of the Brotherhood dudes, I think, in the form of Magneto, who obviously is a 6-cost mask, but he has the Brotherhood affiliation. And the super rare version of him in set says when Magneto is active, when one of your Brotherhood character dice is KO'd, KO target opposing character dice. So if you can link that with the Blue Eyes, with Mystique and the Blue Eyes Dark Phoenix.
Yeah. So much removal.
Global, exactly. You're just removing ridiculous amounts of characters on your opponent's side. It's going to be bonkers.
Yeah, and then on top of that, the Madeline Pryor, which gets loyalty counters again, which is terrible. But
not if she's unblockable.
She does get loyalty counters off of things getting KO'd. So
she does, yeah. So she gets bigger. Yeah, so that's going to be pretty fun. We think. So yeah, Brotherhood.
Brotherhood's really good. Really, really good.
Yeah.
Other bits, I mean, there's loads more Overcrush, isn't there? I mean, we've talked about that. Probably we don't need to go into that very much now. And obviously, there's a bit of Master Mold stuff, which is just sort of his own thing, really, isn't he? He feels like he's going to be good. He's been around. He was spotted.
He does
about
pair
a year
well
ago.
with the Mystique.
Go on. What does he do, and why is that?
He is a villain, so he's gonna trigger the ability on Mystique. So he's gonna remove something, and then he is going to create one token when he's fielded. He's going to create a token when he attacks, and also when he is KO'd. So he makes lots of 5/5s, and then you pair that with a bit of removal, and then you're going to overwhelm your opponent fairly quickly.
I know. It's a bit scary. And one of the things that actually does terrify me a little bit about this set is the fact that quite a few of these things that we're mentioning, I mean, Master Mold is one of them, Magneto is one of them, Mystique is one of them. We haven't even really talked about Mr. Sinister. We haven't particularly talked about... we haven't even mentioned Lilandra, the one that makes all the globals.
Boo.
Your opponent paints all the globals. These are all super rares, folks.
Yeah.
Which is
Jubilee.
bad news.
Jubilee is another one.
Oh, Jubilee, yeah. Which is bad news as far as I'm concerned, because it means they are kind of must-have cards that are going to be hard to get hold of, and they're going to be expensive. So we're going to be potentially looking at having to buy a lot of packs to get some of these. To get
This
some of these
Master
strong
Mold
cards.
is overrated. I'm calling it now.
Why'd you say that?
Tokens are terrible.
No, they're not. You can't re-roll them. You can't spin them down.
I don't like tokens at all. I don't really like Godcatcher, to be honest. But I mean, that's a 10-10 at least. A bunch of 5/5s. Yeah, fine.
I don't know. Most of the time, a bunch of 5/5s are better than 1 10-10.
He's a 6-cost character that it makes a bunch of other weenie characters. Yeah, it's fine.
Weenie!
5/5. I think Godcatcher is overrated
weenies.
as well, but I mean, it might just be the way I play. I just never have had a problem with Godcatcher particularly.
What else do we want to just mention on this whole Dark Phoenix fest before we kind of wrap up? Is there anything particular that people want to talk about? I mean, obviously, Control is making a bit of a comeback with obviously we just mentioned the I can't say it. Lilandra, thank you.
And Moira common as a counter to the aforementioned Godcatcher.
Because she cancels.
She makes you makes your opponent re-roll continuous dice, I think. If they roll it to the right face, they have to re-roll it. And if it continues to be the right face, they can field it. And if not, bad luck. I think the reprints are interesting. We've mentioned a few. So Jubilee being the reprint of Johnny Storm. Lilandra being the reprint of Jinzo we mentioned previously. One of the Jean Greys is a sort of Oracle Pip reprint, kind of, not quite, but makes globals costs more.
Yeah.
And we're also getting Mutation back, which I think is nice. Mutation, I don't have it in front of me, but it has an interesting global, which is the sort of the spin up, spin down one. Oh, let me find it. But actually, the action in this case is even more interesting. The global is pay a mask, spin one of your character dice down a level to spin another target character die up a level. Useful for example, what's it called? That thing where you spin things?
Yeah.
Awaken.
Yep.
Yeah. But the card itself is an ability that we've been missing for quite some time in Modern. Swap target character die in the field zone with target non-psychic character die in that player's used pile. Spin that character to its level 1. So you can use it for removal because it says that player's used pile. So it doesn't have to be yours. So it's the old, what did it used to be called before it was called Mutation?
Polymorph.
Polymorph, right. And then in Turtles it was called Mutation. So you can use it to swap a character in your opponent's field that you don't want to see with something less threatening from their used pile. So you can use it in that sense. But more excitingly, you can have all sorts of shenanigans especially if you've got a bunch of dice, bunch of energy, buy something and swap it into your own field on the same turn that you buy it. And that's something we've been missing for ages, ever since we lost, what was that 2-cost Misdirection?
Misdirection,
like
yeah.
That was great. So I'm very excited about that, I would say.
I will say Mutation is a very interesting way of getting rid of tokens as well.
And they just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, because they count as a die, don't they, in the field?
Yeah, yeah.
One.
There is maybe one thing I'm less enamoured of, which is basically a sort of reprint, or it's a comeback. I forget which character has it. It's one of the globals. It's on Gladiator, isn't it? The 2 Gladiators that we've seen. And it's the Doom Caliber Knight global. Now, I used to play this a lot, but, I was a jerk. I was a jerk, and I don't encourage you to play with this now. It says pay a fist when you attack. Oh god, I can't even read that. Your character dice can't be the target of action dice or global abilities until end of turn. And that's all of your character dice. So you can't buff them anymore, but they can't be blinked back, or what's it called? Static fielded back these days.
Yeah.
So that's not very nice.
I will say it's funny because it's a direct counter to a global I had great hopes for until you just reminded me that Gladiator Global exists. Mr. Sinister, another Mr. Sinister global, but the uncommon, which is pay 3 energy, ignore target attacking character dice text until the end of turn, which would be a very nice counter to Overcrush.
Yes.
But they probably run the Gladiator global, and then who cares about your 3 energy that you have from Mr. Sinister global.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Totally. All right, well, we should probably wrap that up there. What did you think about that? How are you feeling about Dark Phoenix? What you expected to be good? What's going to work? What's going to not? What's going to be big? And what's going to flop? Let us know by using the contact details at the end of the show. But we'll move on to the next segment. In the previous episode, we were all about the shields and put forward some suggestions for the card that should be crowned the Shieldiest shield. James went for the never-ending Alfred. Peter suggested the damage-preventing Bishop. Ben put forward the tricksy Namorita, and I proposed the controlly Constantine. We put it to you to vote and or suggest your alternatives, and there were some good ones that we overlooked. We didn't get time to talk about. That's what I should say. Yeah, we definitely didn't forget about them. And we just wanted to reflect on the results of the poll. So we had some good suggestions put forward. Hope Summers, pluripotent echopraxia, got a mention. Thank you to Rob Pettifor for putting her forward, but she didn't get that many votes. Jason Lucero put forward Emma Frost, Mental Mistress. Now,
is that the one that stops multiples blocking or attacking duplicates of the same character? Or is that something else?
Do you know, I'm
should probably have a look,
prepared, but I don't even know when.
They can't.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
That's good, that one. Yeah.
When an opponent declares a character as an attacker or blocker, they may not attack or block with any other copies of that die this turn. That is, and she has got some big stats.
Very shieldy. Field control, right?
She's very shieldy, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was a good suggestion. Thank you for making that. Someone called Ben Said Scott sneaked in half-elf bard. Master Lords Alliance. And
how many votes did that get?
More votes than my actual suggestion.
Yeah, that came in fourth place. The votes weren't that high overall. And then we had a tie for second and third place, which was Bishop Butterfly Effect. Congratulations, Peter. And Constantine Hellblazer also had the same number of votes. But the winner was, by a comfortable margin, was Alfred Pennyworth, MI5.
Yay!
James, I've never seen you quite so excited.
Unaccustomed as I am. I'm really pleased about that. Great. Well done, Alfred. And well done, everybody, for choosing Alfred. That's the right choice.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I agree, but thank you, everyone. Thank you to
the people have spoken.
They have spoken, exactly, and you can't disagree with them. I mean, hey ho, that's democracy for you. But Alfred Pennyworth will go into the hall of how do we describe
energy
this
types.
hall of things? the istists, I don't know. To join Guy Gardner, the Fistiest Fist, and Professor X, the Maskiest Mask, in the kind of Hall of Fame. In goes Alfred Pennyworth. So James, thanks for suggesting that, and thank you to everyone who took the time to vote. Now, on the Shield front, James, you had a bit of news, didn't you? I think on that front.
Yeah. So Steve wrote. We got a contact through the website, and Steve said, I don't know when we mentioned this. It was ages ago, because this is from either March or May, depending whether that date's American or British. I'm not really sure. But he said, Shield shenanigans, Dove, the Light of Order, Emma Frost, All That Glitters, attached Throne Brick and Fenthaza, Dender's Nightmare Speaker, is that what it is? And you're off for a day of it. Now that Fenthaza, I think when fielded, she makes your character's defense attack equal to their defense. Is that what it is?
Yeah, she fields. Yeah, she basically flips all Shield characters' stats.
Does she flip them or does she equalize them?
No, she equalizes.
Yes. Sorry,
yeah, which is pretty.
So a 1/8 blob becomes an 8/8 blob.
And I think again, sorry to mention Patrick twice in one program, but Shadowmeld had a good Shield team with that, and I think Bishop was on there, and probably Nick Fury, I think, for reducing.
Yeah, was it American Nats a few years ago?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Yeah, so sort of similar kind of idea, I think. How did he get his damage through in the end? I can't remember.
Venerable General.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that was it. Nice. Yeah, so thank you very much indeed, Steve. Yes, I like Shield, and that Dove has a very big bottom, I think, on its top level.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, it spins up to level 3 quite quickly. Nice. So yeah, if you compare that with a few of the cheaper Shield defense buff big butt people, could be pretty nasty.
Yeah, yeah,
good stuff.
3-cost blob and stuff. Yeah, nice. Yeah, it might be interesting now as well. Like Mastermind is a 2-cost Shield with a 1/4 on top level, so make that a 4/4. Not bad for a 2-cost. And Nick Fury, I suppose, is a 5/5 on top level as well. So yeah, could be pretty gross, pretty fast.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Well, thank you, Steve, for getting in touch. All right, well, shall we move on to a bit of AOB? Okay, hopefully we have already marked your card for the 14th of August, where it's going to be Dice Fight XL. James, do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about what's planned, how the format's going to work, and what you've got up your sleeve?
Well, it's going to be a great big dice fight, Spug, which means, the theme is what we've been talking about today, in fact, which is basically we're going to have modern, and it's going to be red, competitive, no holes barred, and we're going to allow 2 proxies from the Dark Phoenix spoilers. There might be some limitations there. I feel pretty sure there are some dice which might not be able to be easily proxied, but definitely plenty of them will be proxiable. And so we'll get a little bit of a taste of the new meta before it finally arrives. And it'll be like Dice Fight in that there'll be 35-minute rounds. The number of those rounds will depend on the number of people who take part. It'll be it's a Saturday. What date is it? The 14th of August is a Saturday. It's the
14th of August, yeah.
A bit earlier in the day than it usually is. And, after 35 minutes, we stop it. And if nobody's died by 35 minutes, we call the highest life. There's no turns and there's none of that business. So just nice, simple, modern, aggressive, Dark Phoenix stuff.
Excellent. And obviously it is open to anybody who has a webcam who wants to take part. There are no kind of special qualification or anything like that. You can just rock up, and if you want to take part, then look at our website because there'll be more details. But also, James, you have a Discord server, don't you, on the on Discord that people can join if they want to.
Spug, you sound like an old man. You have a Discord server on the
on the Discord thing
on the internet.
What is it?
On the interwebs.
There is a. Actually, I say you sound like an old man. I can't even remember what it's called. There is a place within the
Dice Masters Unlimited.
Within the Dice Masters server, there is a thread, whatever it is, hashtag Dice Fight. So that's the best place to go for chat and stuff.
A channel.
Channel, thank
yeah,
you, young Ben. That's the word.
It's on Internet Explorer as well, just in case.
Yes, so I haven't actually published many details of this. We announced it on the last podcast, and part of the point of doing the Dark Phoenix stuff today was to give you some brewing ideas. I will say that very often in regular Dice Fight, we don't do red events that often. We do Legacy once a month, which is always red, but the rest of them tend to be sort of green and orange, or less competitive events. But I do feel like we haven't had anything really feisty for quite some time, and I didn't just want a replay of the existing modern meta, so I think this might be a nice twist. I hope people would like to get involved.
Yeah. Excellent, good. And then in terms of the actual regular Thursday night Dice Fight, we've got 15th of July. You're actually planning to do a bit of Dice Fight XL practice.
Indeed, the very next Dice Fight after this comes out will be exactly that, exactly the same format. So 2 proxies from the Dark Phoenix, up to 2 proxies, and red modern competitive. And after that, we're going to do the format that Jimmy mentioned in his last interview on the MOD, which I think he called it Dice Masters XL, but I've renamed it because it's a bit confusing. So I've got Dice Fight XL. So I've called it Jimmy's Great Big Dice Masters. You can call it what you like. And that's the one where there are, I think, 3 basic actions, 10 character cards and actions, 12 psychics, 30 life, and drawing 6 dice a turn or something. I'll type something up so the rules are clear by the time we get there. And the one after that, incidentally, is the 100th. So that's very exciting.
Yes. 100th Dice Fight.
You can find all of this information, in fact, both on our Facebook page and also on the website on the Dice Fight tab. I've done the whole schedule, bar the very last event in August, for the whole of the summer. So get involved. Come and play.
Yeah. 9 o'clock, isn't it, UK time? 10 p.m. Central European time. And somewhere
every Thursday,
probably in the afternoon, if you live on the other side of the Atlantic. So do get involved with that. One other thing to mention, which is totally not Dice Masters related in any way, shape or form, but I just wanted to give it a quick flag if you guys didn't mind. But I have got a place in the London Marathon. It is very exciting because I've been trying for ages and I've finally managed to get a place, and I'm going to be running to raise money for a local charity called Skylarks, which is in southwest London where I live, and they are a charity that supports children with disabilities and additional needs, and they would be very grateful of any support that can be thrown their way as a result of me putting myself through 26.2 miles of probably quite
sheer
hard
agony,
work, I should imagine.
Is it like, do people fight to have a place to go through this grueling experience?
Yeah. They have a ballot.
It's a privilege.
The ballot is always massively oversubscribed. And it gets even more so every year. So,
unfortunately, this year you have to wear a COVID mask the whole way, so we're even in more of a struggle.
Yeah, no, thankfully I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm hoping anyway.
Could you imagine?
That would be horrific. Yeah. And so it's on October the 3rd. I'm going to be pounding the streets of London. So if anybody wanted to sponsor me, then I would be extremely grateful. We will put the link in the show notes, but it is basically ukvirginmoneygiving.com/Andy Ricketts. Then you can chuck a bit of money towards that charity and they would be very grateful. Thank you. Other than that, I think that's all we've got time for. If you've enjoyed the episode, it's been great to have you with us. Thank you for listening. If you could subscribe and rate and review using your favourite podcast app, we'd be very grateful. If you want to get in touch, James, what's the email address?
It's hello@dmunited.eu. Indeed
it is. But that is the end of the show, and we will see you again next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Hasta la vista.
Bye-bye.